I rise to begin the public debate with respect to the bill entitled Development Control and Planning Amendment Bill. This bill, Mr. Speaker, intends to put to the House the need for a few amendments in the bill related to development control and planning, that is the Act or Chapter 20.07. I believe, in a way, this first bill that we are debating in the Parliament brings to focus the need for orderly development of our country. And it draws attention, Mr. Speaker, to the importance of the Development Control and Planning Board and its instrumentality in assisting the development of our country through the vetting and approval of all developments and building construction activities in particular. In a manner of speaking, its efficiency and effectiveness impact upon the pace of residential, commercial, industrial, and other developments in our Federation. Mr. Speaker, the Parent Act number 14 of 2000 was amended by Act number 3 of 2006 and Act number 15 of 2009. It is the revised edition, if you will, Chapter 20.07, that consolidate all the other laws. It is that revised edition that we are amending today. Chapter 20.07 of the laws define the purpose of the Development Control and Planning Act as an act to make provision for the orderly and progressive development of land in both urban and rural areas, and for the protection of the environment and improvement of the amenities thereof, to provide for the grant of permission to develop land and for other powers of control over the use of land, to confer additional powers in respect of the acquisition and development of land for planning purposes and for other matters connected therewith. Today, Mr. Speaker, we are, by way of these amendments that are being proposed, we are attempting to tidy up the bill or tidy up the act to allow for greater administrative efficiency in the work of the board and effectiveness in its delivery of its mandate. In a meeting with members of the board in 2017, members raised with me, among other things, the need for revision to the Act and the Building Code, among several other matters. Today we address, in part, their submissions, as these submissions relate to the composition of the Development Control and Planning Board. These amendments have become necessary in light of certain institutional developments and prevailing realities. The amendments are not at all controversial, and they represent an eminently sensible response to certain challenges in operationalizing the Act. I want to go now to those amendments, and for that I draw attention to the amendment in the bill at clause 3. The Act, it says, is amended in the first schedule by replacing section 1, subsection 1 with the following new subsection, which is enumerated here. The board shall consist of 13 members appointed by the minister. This is now as it was in terms of the number of persons who could fill positions on the board. And what we have done in relation to the revisions, you shall see, is basically maintain that there will be 9 members who are ex officio members, and we have, in fact, now have 4 persons who are not in the public service and who will be members of the board. According to the legislation, these 4 members, not drawn from the public service, shall bring the following competencies to the board. They should have knowledge and experience in commerce and industry, in economic and financial matters, legal matters we have now added, and any other areas of public interest relevant to development control and physical planning. Mr. Speaker, the board has specifically asked us to have a legal mind among its membership. We suspect that this will assist it in better comprehension of the law and responding to legal matters that may come before the board. And so we are pleased in the revision or the amendment being proposed here to have included specifically at the new section 1, clause 1, subsection 1 at B, item 3, subsection 3, legal matters as being one of the skill sets which will now reside on the board. The new board, or the board going forward, shall comprise of the following persons: the Director of Physical Planning, or the Chief Physical Planner, the Chief Environmental Health Officer or his representative, the Chief Technical Officer or Director of Lands and Surveys. The nomenclatures from time to time change as ministries evolve, as government business is being redefined. And we have sought to capture in the amendment an approach that lends itself to the kind of flexibility in designating the requisite competence required for the board. The Director of Public Works Department or his representative, the Director of Environment or a senior officer responsible for environment, the Manager of the Water Department or a water engineer, and the General Manager of the St. Kitts Electricity Corporation or the representative, the Commissioner of Police or his representative, and the Chief Fire Officer or his representative. This represents both a change in style and substance. The substance of the amendment is that hitherto we name the Commissioner of Police, and there are times very often where, for example, the Commissioner of Police is indisposed or otherwise unavailable to attend these meetings. This have implication for the kind of support which the board needs. And so what we have sought to do is to empower another person with the requisite expertise, because this is what the law was intended to capture, both a board reflecting public sector input, join upon the expertise and involvement of persons from the private sector. And as with respect to those not drawn from the private sector, the law speaks to the kind of engagement, involvement, expertise, experience that they must bring. We attempt to mirror that in the selection of those ex officio members drawn from the public sector. So, for example, we talk about commerce and industry. It doesn't say the president of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, which will be an appropriate body nonetheless to represent the interests of commerce and industry. And so in a similar way, we try to, for example, say there will be times and recognize, as now exists, that you could have a general manager of a government department doing strictly management of that department, but not necessarily having the expertise in that particular area, because expertise can be held elsewhere by persons within the department. And so now, for example, at Skelec, we have a general manager acting who is an accountant or trained in affairs of financial management. For the purposes of the Development Control and Planning Board, we want an engineer. We want somebody that will bring that experience and that skill to assist the board with the matters that comes for its contemplation and action. And so we have made those changes to ensure the ease with which this can happen and the particular individuals can be named. And you take any other department, the Director of Public Works. Usually this is an engineer, an architect, someone trained in physical planning. But housed within that department are a number of other engineers who might be more available and able to deal with the demands of membership on a board that has a lot of work to do, such as the Development Control and Planning Board. So that is part of what we call the tidying up exercise, but it's a tidying up that reflects not just stylism, but also reflects substance. And the substance is what we are attempting to get in this particular bit of legislation. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the board has been performing well and to commend the membership of the board for their participation and contribution on the board. We have in the Parliament a number of the personalities who form the members of the Development Control and Planning Board, and so I thank them individually and collectively for their membership and their work. I want to recognize the members. We have the chairman in Mr. Calvin Pemberton. We have the executive secretary in Mr. Randolph Edmead. We have Mr. Alex Riley, our chief environmental health inspector. We have the manager of the water department, our water engineer, Mr. Denison Paul. The other members of that board include Ronald Fish. He would have come from those that are not part of the public service. In other words, representing private sector, commerce, industry, economic and financial affairs, and so on. We have Cromwell Williams of the Public Works Department. We have the Commissioner of Police, who's been named. We have Fitzgerald Boncamper. Those make up the regular membership of the board as it now stands. In the previous or the legislation which we are attempting to amend today, with the support of the House, there was in fact a provision for a representative of SSMC. SSMC has long been non-existent, and so there was no need to tarry with that particular provision in the legislation, and therefore we have corrected that, and in part we have been able to maintain the membership at 13 while adding to the complement somebody who would be versed in legal matters to complete the membership of the board and to give the board the kind of support that they require and deserve to effectively deal with the matters before them. I would want to encourage all out there, private persons, persons involved in business, to get better acquainted with the work of the Development Control and Planning Board and to cooperate with the board in the execution of its mandate. To encourage all persons, whatever construction activities they are to undertake, adding a new room or a veranda, building a new supermarket, to always seek advice from the Development Control and Planning Board. And we hope that you will always find courteous and helpful service and support when you go there to make your queries and to seek assistance. In this era in which the matters of the resilience of our construction and our engineering responses would be judged, the building board provides, as it were, a good check as to the soundness of any construction or development proposal that may come to the fore. And so we want to and we will give fullest support to the board in exercising its mandate. We encourage it to engage the public regularly by way of public education and the whole series of matters, the whole wide range of matters which from time to time come to the attention of the board. Mr. Speaker, just by way of some statistics, I am advised that in 2015, 434 applications reached the board, out of which 274 receive approval. That is 63% of the matters dealt with during the year were approved by the board. In 2016, 282 out of 473 applications were approved, a 60% approval rate. And in 2017, 323 applications were approved out of a count of 409 such applications for a 79% approval rate. The board has dealt with such significant projects: the Park Hyatt, the Pavilion Hotel, and several other commercial, residential, and industrial matters, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I won't tarry long because the amendments are pretty clear. I have sought to provide the rationale, the justification, if you will, for the need for us to bring at this time these particular amendments to the bill. For my discussions with the members of the board, there are certain other amendments that will come in due time. Indeed, a number of them are still with the Attorney General's office, and we are having ongoing discussions regarding them. And when they are ripe for the next step, we will certainly bring them to the House for debate and for approval. With that note, Mr. Speaker, I want to wish the bill safe passage, non-controversial as it is, to the Honourable Chambers of the Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Prime Minister.
Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.